Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are also going to take a look at the Primaris side of the Shadowspear box. I've already taken a look at the Chaos side, so head over to that video. I separated it into two so it wasn't some obscenely long monstrosity that would take forever to get through. And also, if you only care about Chaos, you can only watch the Chaos one. If you only care about Primaris, just watch the Primaris one. Easy, unless you care about both, in which case, watch both. Same difference. So yeah, let's have a look at these lads. Significant difference in style, let's be honest, to the Chaos side of things. And there's some stuff in here I really like. But to be honest, there's also some stuff in here that I really don't like. So yeah, let's just go in and have a look at the lads. Okay, so here we go. This is the Primaris side of the Shadowspear box, and on the face of it, it's a pretty good looking force. It definitely has a serious and consistent theme to it, with a few glaring exceptions, I think it's fair to say. I will say that there's a disappointing amount of repeats for this force. The Chaos side of things, there wasn't really anything in the way of models that had been duplicated. There weren't really anything in the way of models that just had exactly the same pose or the same look. Whereas there's a fair bit of that going on here, which is a shame. So if we take a look at these two, they have the same pose. They have the same weapons, they have the same purity seals, they have the same pouches, the same grenades. We've got a repeat straight off the bat right there. Which is fine until you look up and notice that these two, admittedly that guy has been photographed from a different angle, but that's still a repeat. That's still just that model again. And then there's a third repeat over here. That surprises me. That genuinely surprises me, because I really thought that if we're going to see that, we'd see that from Chaos, not from the Primaris side of things. And no matter which side it was from, I didn't think we'd see it quite that often. I mean, for the amount of models you get in this box, there is a point where there's 3 models that have just been duplicated. That's not great, to be honest. I mean, I know there's a finite number of poses and stuff that you can... Well, no, is that even true? Is there a finite number of poses you can do with the model? I don't think there is. You can have variations of it, but those are pretty clearly just the same twice, and that's a little bit disappointing of the Primaris side, if I'm honest. That being said, there is some stuff I really like in here, like the guy who's dropping smoke. I really like that. I like that pose. I like the effect on the smoke as well. That's a nicely done model. The lieutenant I really like, and the crazy contraptions on the wrists that a couple of them are looking at. I'm not entirely sure what they do, but again, I do like those. They look good. These guys, for some reason, I think these guys look way better than Reavers. They have a similar armor style, but something that I've never liked about Reavers was the helmets on them. I've never really been a big fan of those, although I've seen people do amazing things with them. They just don't fit the squad personally for me. These guys, the helmets they've got, it just transforms the armor to look more serious and more, I don't know, it just looks better. It just looks way better. There's something more cohesive about these. They look more purposeful than Reavers do, which I think is a big problem that I have with Reavers as a whole, and the Infiltrators don't have that issue in any way, even if the armor styling is kind of similar. That side of the force I really like. That part of this Primaris force, the Infiltrators, the Eliminators, I also really like. The Lieutenant, again, looks great. I like how many knives he's got. Could do with an extra knife, but 2's fine to start with. There's a couple of things that I don't like about just the composition of this force, because it makes it look a bit weird to me. You have amongst the walking infantry a very easily recognizable style for this force. It's clearly stealthy. It's clearly this is not a force that is just going to drop into charge towards the enemy face first, shouting at them. You would not think that looking at the captain, because he is standing there shouting. The librarian looks like he's in some sort of stealthy casting a spell pose, too much D&D, using a psychic power pose. The captain doesn't fit that, and it doesn't fit the lieutenant who has got his knife out for a stealthy kill. It's like of all of these units, for some reason the captain looks like he's standing up and shouting, "Go over there!" And I don't like that contrast with the rest of the force. I know it's only a small thing, but I think there is a time and a place for the kind of heroic leader pose. Games Workshop loves doing the heroic leader pose, let's be honest. They love the heroic leader pose, the pointing and directing the troops look. There's a time and a place for it. A force this stealthy is not the time or the place for that look. So I don't know why they've given him that look. It's a weird choice that doesn't really fit the rest of it, which is a shame because I like the model itself. I think the model itself is really cool, but yeah, it's just a weird contrast of everyone else is being sneaky, and then this dude is apparently just pointing at something, standing up tall and shouting. It's a weird contrast. Speaking of which, the weirdest contrast of all is these dudes. When we saw the artwork for these, I really liked the artwork for it, and I thought this had a lot of potential. I have to admit, I absolutely cannot stand the models at all. I really can't. I don't know whether it's because of the annoying flying bases, which I hate those things. They are absolutely useless. I really wish Games Workshop would stop using them. You're way better just building up some terrain and having them like launch off with 1 foot. I mean, that's the only thing I've seen work for Inceptors. The flying bases have never been any good for those. They just don't look right to me, and I think a lot of it is the pose. The weird thing that, and Inceptors have the same issue, is that they don't look like they're flying, they don't look like they're landing, and they don't look like they're shooting. They look like they're just dangling there in mid-air, and Inceptors have exactly the same issue. They have the same problem. These guys have it a little bit worse because the gun is so massive and like overscale compared to them. Like, I get the idea behind them. They land, they set up, they fire, and then they reposition, and that's fine. But it doesn't look like they do that. It doesn't look really like they do anything. It's really hard to tell what they do because the pose that they have is this weird dangling in mid-air, waving a colossal gun around look, and it just doesn't work for me personally. It's like, I like the gun, I like the armor, I like the grav shoots and the way they've changed those to fit the kind of stripped down Inceptor look in a way, but the putting together of all these different elements has just not worked for me at all, and it's a shame because I really wanted to like these because I liked the artwork for it, and I thought, oh man, if they pull this off, that's going to look ridiculous. It does look ridiculous, just not in a good way, to be honest. And I will say as well, I don't like bare heads on Marines anyway. If you're jumping about the place, setting up your massive gun, don't have a half helmet. It looks weird. It just looks weird. And having like a little targeting thing on the side of your head, but no actual helmet on, just doesn't work for me personally. I don't know. There's just something about them. They're not doing it for me at all. I don't know what you would do to fix them either, which is part of the problem. Some models, when you look at it, you're like, oh, I don't think that really works. I can at least look at them and go, I think I would change this, that, and the other, and I think I would like them more. I can't even work out what I do to these to make them look reasonable to me. They just look so floaty and weird. Maybe cut down the size of the weapons. Maybe put normal jump packs on them or something. That might work. Have them landing on scenery. Like, if they look like being propelled forwards, that might work. If they were posed so it looked like they were shooting. Although, to be honest, the guy on the right does look like he's shooting, but there's no way he's firing that thing in mid-air. The recoil would just... Look at the size of it. Surely the recoil would just absolutely wreck him. I don't know. They're just weird models. They're just weird. They don't seem to really do anything. It's a shame. That's the thing. It's like, I'm not just saying it because, they're stupid Primaris. That's not how it works. I like Primaris. Those just don't work. And when you look at those, when you look at ridiculous floaty boys next to the infiltrators, it's daft because the infiltrators look great. They look sleek. They look modern. They look purposeful. They look like, even if you don't know what their stats are, what their abilities are, I look at that and I immediately think, oh shit, there's like some stealthy recon stuff going on. I like this. It has a purposeful design. The others don't have that at all. They don't have a purposeful design. They just look like they're falling out of the sky with a gun that's too big for them, and it's not a great look. It's just the contrast of those versus these is just weird. It's a strange contrast for them to be in the same force. But yeah, I mean, the infiltrators do look really good, and that lieutenant is, I know it's, the joke of a new lieutenant for every month of the year, but that to me is a great model. It's well posed, it's purposeful. Yeah, that is good. The only other thing that throws me a little bit about the Primaris side of this box, and again, it's a contrast thing, is the Eliminators. They've got the camo cloaks, they've got the sniper rifle set up from a long distance away. Great. Absolutely. The use of the camo on those I really like. The Infiltrators, I would have liked to see something similar, but I can kind of get why they don't have it. The Librarian being all camouflaged up whilst also holding a glowing force sword is a little bit weird. It's one of those things where I love the model, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to complain about that model at all because I really like it. It looks great. But again, it's a context thing of no one else that he's going to be near is doing that unless he sticks with the Eliminators, with the sniper rifles, in which case, why is he still carrying a sword around and why doesn't he have a weapon appropriate for that purpose? It's like a weird mix of, I think Rule of Cool has overridden everything else, and I'm absolutely okay with that because I'm all about Rule of Cool. I built a Redemptor army because I like the Redemptor, not because they're good. You can't get more kind of taking appearance over rules than building an entire force just because, yeah, that'd be fun. I do love the model, but it is that weird thing of like a mishmash of context. They all look decent apart from the floaty boys, but there's like a weird mixed signal thing going on of this one dude being heavily camouflaged up, but all the people around him just aren't. And if they don't need to be because they have the technology that means that they don't need to be camouflaged, why doesn't he have that technology rather than being camouflaged? And if that stuff that they have doesn't make them camouflaged, why don't they have what he has? It's like a weird mix of styles that I'm not entirely convinced about, but I'm absolutely happy to overlook because I like the overall appearance of the Force. And I will say that I'm intending to get this box, obviously. I was thinking I was only going to get one half, and I'd split it with someone, but actually I can see myself enjoying assembling and painting these guys up. And I could do with maybe an expansion to the Redemptor Force that isn't just more Dreadnoughts. So these guys could well just act as a nice little side project to that. Don't know what I'm going to do with the old Gundam wing up there, but we'll work something out at the time. So yeah, that is the Primaris side of the Shadowspear box. I mean, I like most of it. There are some interesting design decisions. Oh, of course, there is a miniature codex for them too. Codex Adeptus Astartes Vanguard Space Marines. Thought it'd be important to mention that. Did point out that there's one for the Chaos. It'd be weird not to point out that there's one for the for the Vanguard lads as well. But yeah, I for the most part I really like both sides of this force. The primary side does look really good. There are some weird contrasts that don't really make a huge amount of sense, but I'm totally prepared to overlook it because they look fucking cool, and that's, let's face it, the most important thing. The suppressors just don't work for me, but to be honest, if it doesn't work for you, you convert the shit out of it until it does. I will find a way to do something that I like with them, but I can't see me leaving them just as they are. The chances of them retaining that style, that pose, even just the way they're put together, is very slim. But the rest of the box, the Infiltrators look great, the Eliminators look great, the Librarian's class, the Captain is really cool, the Lieutenant, I know it's Lieutenant, but he still looks fucking awesome. So, I mean, all in all, really nice looking force. Just that one little bit is a letdown. They just don't look like they fit with the rest of them, and that's a shame. But yeah, that is the primary side of the Shadowspear box. Let me know what you think of them in the comments down below. Do you have the same issues I do with the suppressors? Do you like the rest of them? Do you like the Infiltrators? Do you think the helmets make a big difference in terms of similar armour to Reavers, but actually a completely different intent behind it with those changes? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all of that shit. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to, and I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.